Hey, welcome back. Alright, so this time we'll be facing Christian, which is an interesting case of convergence. So, anyway, there's more over now. Anyway, let's finish this. So, there. Counters are said to occur randomly, not entirely so, but they can be, especially given that the controls and so on behind grapples and such can be a bit finicky, so they can come across as determined by factors that aren't generally going to be taken into consideration. Anyway, so after a kick, when they're in that state, they're generally open for anything that you particularly want to do from that position, of course, which is sometimes a prerequisite or prerequisite of sorts for some finishers, including one of ours. But obviously, using a kick can detract a bit from your special meter, which doesn't necessarily matter if you do use a finisher, because then that's happening anyway. So Christian, from what I do recall of them, was a character who had a bit of a split or inconsistent personality. At times they would do something, and then just about seconds later they would go and do something completely different with a completely different agenda and motive behind it. So basically you can treat them as two separate people who just sort of tangentially act and show up from time to time. They're also known for their winning fights against, for instance, females in fairly degrading and patriarchal ways, which I suppose fits the name. Just like other things wouldn't. So, like, honestly, though this guy could probably, as far as straight men, straight talkers people can go, was probably one of the only people who you could actually take entirely seriously in that place, even in contexts when you frequently wouldn't. But then sometimes you couldn't, and you know, that's a bit weird. It's like, you know, how the Katy Perry's prismatic regard made by Prism has one or two singles basically, and then a bunch of filler songs that are generally ignored and which are seemingly attempts to sound like heavy metal songs. Now, it's basically like that, except if Prism album were made by a person rather than being made by a shark. So here's an interspersed match from the Raw run, which, strictly speaking, comes after this current run is finished and successful and so on. So here's a match against Kane. Speaking of which, now that was the Tombstone Pot, whatever it's called, which is the other one that's just using a grapple and then finisher. So here's Edge versus Chavo Guerrero, who's not, I think, dead, but he might be. So you can kind of see what's going on there. There's a couple of grapples, breaking out of them, and so on. Anyway. To be honest, it probably makes them look stronger than they are, but realistically, lots of things do. Anyway, in this context. As this match can't be won by a pin, that doing so could count as something of an extra thing, so that's just gonna be Axios there anyway. Suppose that we might have to do something else, but anyway. A sort of feasible thing in this is that if you go up there, they generally won't attack you. So while you do get down automatically after a certain amount of time, that could be as well for whatever reason, if you're not that confident with it or whatever, with the game, etc. As you can see, while they could probably be pinned at this point, they won't necessarily submit immediately. That's because submission is in some level a function of, for instance, there having been already in a submission move and so on, which sort of builds up and becomes more of a problem with them. Anyway, this kind of thing, it would actually happen more often in the harder levels, but it's really one of the only differences, so it's not that much more difficult. It might just take a bit more time, but that's not really sufficient to constitute a increase in difficulty, and it's generally not that decisive. Anyway, so that went very well. Anyway, back to the tournament. And SmackDown, as it's called, has an exclamation mark. I'm excited. So anyway, here's Edge. So generally speaking, the way to avoid grapples being escaped from and so on would be to press the necessary keys or buttons or whatever sufficiently early and so on, but again, that can be a bit finicky and slightly more occupying than is necessary. But obviously, there's a certain element of learning eventually at this point, so we'll probably figure out how to do that in terms of the timing and so on eventually, but not yet. Still, the admittedly slightly pointless grapples do come up with some sort of Russian dance or something involving Cossacks, so I suppose that since apparently that's now Alamad, there might be something there for casual spectator. I don't know. Anyway. So, generally speaking, it seems like a decent idea to weigh them down with submission moves continually after getting them on the ground. It means that they generally have a fairly short shelf life. Only thing to watch out for there is that does increase the special meter a decent amount, so if it's still an even match, then, or it's going to take a while, then that could be an issue, but otherwise, hey. So Christian isn't necessarily considered a high reputation wrestler in this thing. So, as such, they're probably more likely to come up in the early rounds. This generally means that they can be slightly slower and might appear slightly earlier in tournaments, so usually the people who come up later on are going to be relatively high in reputation in this game. There are probably some other factors affecting difficulty, but that's one of them. I said AI, anyway. Something that you can do during tournaments is to watch the matches between two AI players, for instance. As you can see, frequently the dominant, so to speak, AI character in a match is going to get out of most of the opponent's grapples while not necessarily having their own being counted. Certain AI characters are going to be slightly faster in terms of grapples and in terms of getting out of them, but generally speaking, that does become a pattern which is especially evident in tag teams and so on, when your partner who's in a character, of course, is sort of getting beaten a bit, which can be stressful, but we get through it anyway. Anyway, enough of that. We probably know by now who's going to win, and we're going to face it now. To finish. So this could be a difficult match, but by this point they're actually quite tired. As you can see, the special bar is quite high, which reflects the continuity in the tournament, or that they still retain what was there in the previous match and so on. That isn't the normal thing, but in this context, that continuity is there. It also means that we can just start off with these kinds of moves and grapple moves and so on, without having to be more physical at the beginning, because they're already quite weak and unable to resist. Something to note about this, although this actually does tend to come up more at the harder difficulties, where it might be more useful to actually get them there. When characters and so on are tired, they'll tend to use kicks more, especially after grapples or if they break out of them, and stay down quite a bit. And also something that you do seem to notice is that their special meter does deplete very quickly when it does, which can be useful, really. So from here, of course, we have tag team matches, which are interesting and also added a new dynamics, so if you're interested, hey, stick around, see us.